I'm just going to jump in and start. Hi, my name is Lucy, and up until last month, I was the editor of Vox.com. Although these days my focus is very much in the world of digital and technology, in a former life, I was a Japanese studies student, and I've got an MA in anthropology of Japan. Weirdly, this has come in handy during my career in tech. And some of the learnings I picked up on the way, helping to grow the Vox community, might also be useful for you as developers. So I thought I'd come and share some today. Just before I jump into that, a quick look at what Vox is, if you're not aware. Vox is a sister site to the DevOps conference series. It's built by the JVM and Java community for the JVM and Java community. Anyone can be a Voxed author and anyone can contribute to Voxed. Its tagline is, share the knowledge, and that's what it intends to do. And in my time at Voxed, I spent an awful lot of my working time trying to convince people to come on board and share their knowledge with us. But why would people want to share their knowledge? You guys worked really hard to get where you are. Why would you want to put everything you've learned out there on the internet? Especially when you think about the terrible things that can happen on Reddit to your hard, well thought out intentions. One really interesting thing I've read about knowledge sharing comes courtesy of Etsuko Kato, who wrote a book on tea ceremony and women's empowerment in Japan. The basis of the book is how women in Japan, in these private tea clubs that they go to, can gain respect from their peers and find status within the group. Massively free for you. This being a 15-minute lightning talk, I'm not going to run through the whole book. I'm going to attempt to sum it up in the next slide. Okay. Tea ceremony, or as it's known in Japan, chado, is the art of preparing and serving tea to a group of others. This art also exists in Korea and China, but we're going to focus specifically on Japan today. Within chado, though, it's not just about serving tea and cake. There are over 200 different ways that you can serve the tea or cake, believe it or not, involving different bodily movements, different expressions, and different patterns of how you would put them all together. As practitioners progress in their tea ceremony, the masters in the group will teach them more complicated moves. So you could walk into a practice room and instantly see who the most senior people were by the moves that they know. Another thing to note about this is that, as a rule, practitioners are 90% female, as you expect from the picture of the kimono. This is actually very significant in Japan because, although Japan is the world's third largest economy, or it was when I did my MA, in terms of male-female equality, it ranks about 120. So you can understand why women want a space where they can feel empowered themselves. Another nice thing about tea ceremony for women in Japan is that amidst Japanese society, where it's very loud, it's very crowded, it's very hectic and busy, you can be up at 5 a.m. and not get home till 1 a.m. Tea ceremony provides a quiet place for reflection and contemplation, almost mindfulness, if you will. But wait a minute, stop talking about Japan. This is a tech conference, I hear you say. Relax, I'm now going to talk about GitHub. Okay, a developer ethnography from an anthropologist's perspective. The internet is a sphere where developers can come together to share their code and knowledge. Places like GitHub and Stack Overflow naturally lend themselves to be spaces for criticism, refinement, and mastery of the sacred art of coding. In companies, devs can also find themselves shoved into dark server rooms, or even worse, horrible open-plan offices, where you can't hear yourself think, let alone write. In companies, marketing and salespeople tend to grab all the glory, even though developers are building a lot of the tech that makes the company money. At the end of the year, who gets the reward? The people who shout the loudest. However, within the realm of the internet, developers can find a sphere to communicate with each other, to gain status, acknowledgement, and recognition from their peers. What I'm getting at is that tea ceremony and developer culture aren't really that different when you think about it. And maybe there's some things that we can learn. Let's take a look about how knowledge is signified in the tea room. As I've said, there are different positions and practices that you learn as you progress through your studies of tea ceremony. Status is identified not only by the advanced form that people learn, but also how people communicate with each other. In Japanese language, depending on your status of society, you would use different verbs to communicate with people and even different bows. So by people's expressions and body language, we can see where they are in the space of a group. So on this idea of special language and status and reinforcing group mentality, let's take a look at developer world. Developers also have their own special codified communication within a framework that speaks to the sensibilities of their peers. I don't know how many blog posts you've read where Chuck Norris is smacking the crap out of some code errors while riding on a magical unicorn, or how often you've seen cats as a shorthand for internet culture as a whole. Recruiters have also latched onto this shorthand, given how prolific developer culture is, which is why when people are trying to talk to developers and they want to speak to them on their level, you'll see awful things like this. People reaching for quasi-mystical Java 2 EE architects, unicorns, and ninjas. They've understood the developer language, but they haven't quite got the nuances. There are other ways, though, to signify status in a group that aren't just about your language and behavior. A really powerful way that people reinforce their position as a leader is through sharing knowledge, which is where we come to another interesting concept in Japanese society, that of the senpai, senior, and kohai, junior. This starts all the way through school, where junior pupils will be subordinate to the senior pupils, the senpai and kohai. It's not just our English notion of junior and senior, though. Your kohai, your junior, could just be a few months younger than you. However, they would be subservient to you, and in return, you'd be expected to provide leadership, guidance, and help reinforce social principles down to them. This concept runs all the way through Japanese society. So within martial arts clubs, I don't know if any of you guys do martial arts, but you might have noticed that the teacher will get older members of the group to teach younger members. Same principle in tea ceremony. The senpai, the seniors, form a very important role in passing their knowledge down to the youngest members of the group. Even someone who's been there for 2 months might be put in charge of teaching someone who just joined the group. Although developers' culture tends to not enforce hierarchy, in fact, places like GitHub overtly say, we want a flat team structure, it can't work if we've got one big leader. There are ways that developers can provide their own kind of mentorship. Whether you go on Stack Overflow and answer lots of questions, whether you want to be someone's buddy at a conference like we have at Devox, or if you're just giving a tech talk and answering questions after, you too are acting as a senpai, and you too are mentoring people. In fact, tech is rife with chances for you to be a senpai, and you don't even have to look very far. But what do you get in return? Well, this is your knowledge capital that you are sharing with the world, and in your own developer culture, that can mean anything from more Twitter followers, Reddit gold, to chances to speak at a conference, increasing your networking opportunity. The possibilities are endless. Okay, so let's sum up. Chuck Norris is not just a powerful fist warlock, he is also a potent signifier of developer culture and a way of uniting developers. Sharing code and ideas allows developers to build knowledge capital within the reified sphere of the internet. And finally, everyone can be a mentor to someone. Doesn't even matter if you've been learning a language for 2 months. The person who's just started will be grateful of your advice. Anna, just in case you were looking to write a blog post or find another way to share your knowledge, I'd like to point your way to Voxed, which just happens to have a tab there for you to go and submit. It doesn't really matter how you do it. Just get out there, start sharing your stuff, start giving back, and you too can be a part of something as exquisite, nuanced, and powerful as tea ceremony itself. And if you enjoyed this talk, look out for my follow-up blog post, Spirited Away, Why Google Stole All My Coders. Thank you.